Messages came into me from Julia, and Julia asks, Dr. Dave, in addition to psilocybin, I've heard you recently talk about microdosing LSD and Amanita Muscaria. Which do you recommend for somebody just starting out? Hey, Julia, great question. I'm going to answer that in a second. I want to welcome everyone, including you, to Microdose U. I am Dr. Dave, and it's great to have you there. And Julia asks a really interesting question because, yes, recently we've been talking here, in addition to psilocybin, we've been talking about microdosing LSD and Amanita Muscaria. But I would say I'm going to say LSD and Amanita are probably a little bit more advanced for different reasons. LSD, the dosing is just, we're talking micrograms, and if you make a little mistake, you could be way off on your dosing. So again, it's probably for more people that are a little more advanced with microdosing or dosing psychedelics. And Amanita is really not a true psychedelic, but it does have some really good properties. And when I say Amanita, I'm just referring to Amanita Muscaria. There are many different types of Amanitas out there. It does work on the different receptor, the GABA receptor, and it does help pretty nicely with stress, things like stress, PTSD, anxiety, sleep. It's also known to give you some energy and creativity as well, but it doesn't really have the same properties as magic mushrooms, psilocybin. So for somebody just starting out, and let's just assume you're doing it for mental health reasons, such as anxiety, depression, PTSD, or something like that, I'm still going to recommend the tried and true tested psilocybin magic mushrooms. First of all, they're just much easier to source. And I think they're easier to dose, and I think it's going to probably be a more predictable result. Although, don't get me wrong, I'm really a big fan of microdosing LSD and also Amanita. I really am, and we discuss both of those along with mushrooms in real detail in our Patreon group, because a lot of people are asking about that these days, and we go into quite some detail there. But again, if I just had to give a recommendation, a blanket recommendation, I'm going to say go ahead and start with psilocybin. It's just probably the easiest and perhaps the most predictable. So, Julia, great question. Really appreciate it. That was a really good question to lead off this episode. I'm going to go ahead and get into some more questions that have been sent to me because they're really good, and I think they can help a lot of people here. So let's get right into this. From Sarah in Bloom. Hey, Dr. Dave, I've been microdosing for a few weeks, but honestly, I don't feel much of anything. Does that mean that it's not working, or am I missing the point? Sarah, so first of all, I don't really know exactly why you're microdosing. So I'm going to assume, it's an assumption, but I'm going to assume it's for mental health issues, anxiety or depression or something like that. Few weeks, everybody's different. For me, it really kind of kicked in pretty quickly. But I think I'm one of the lucky ones. I talk to a lot of people, work with a lot of people, that it does take much longer. So a few weeks is still pretty short, Sarah. What I'm going to recommend is, and again, I'm a little bit limited on information here because I don't know the exact amount you're actually dosing, what your microdose is. But I'm going to say in most cases, when you first start and you're not feeling anything for a few weeks, in most cases, we recommend going up in dose. So I'm going to make this up, but let's say you're microdosing 100 milligrams. And let's just say you're doing it 4 days on, 2 days off, and then 4 days on and 2 days off. I'm going to recommend that you go up to at least 150, but perhaps 200 milligrams and see if that doesn't make a difference. Because I'm pretty sure if you've been microdosing with 100 and you're just not feeling anything whatsoever after a few weeks, I'm pretty sure by increasing the dosage, it really could kick in and you could start feeling something. By feeling something, I mean really start to feel better with depression or anxiety or, again, whatever you're experiencing mental health wise. Javier 83. How can I tell the difference between what's happening because of the microdose and just me having a good normal day? Sometimes it's hard to tell. Well, that's a really good question. And if you're having a good normal day, celebrate it. Congratulations. Don't micromanage or don't worry too much about it, because the more good normal days you have, That's what we're trying to get to, whether it's the microdosing, whether it's something else you might be doing in your life. You don't really have to go deep and try to figure that out because, again, if you started off and let's just say, again, making this up, 50% of your days are, normal, 50% or kind of rough, maybe some anxiety and some depression. And then you start microdosing and then let's say 75 to 80% of your days are much, much better, happy, and only 25% are a little bit rough with still anxiety and some depression. I would take that as a win. Keep doing what you're doing. And as you do it, the days are going to get better and better and better. And you'll see it'll ultimately get to the point where only a very, very small percentage of your days might be rough. And we want to get to the point where almost no days, almost none. I can't say none because, again, being human beings, we experience difficult things and we go through tough times. But I'm talking about basically, we want to get it to the point where almost all of your days are good. So again, Javier, congratulations that you're feeling some really good days and keep that going. Keep the microdosing going. And I think it should get to be more and more and more. I hope that helps. It's a little bit of a difficult question to answer exactly, but I think I said what I needed to say. Celebrate the good days however they appear. Okay, Heather on the Hill. Is it possible to build up a tolerance to psilocybin even when you're doing tiny doses? When she says tiny doses, I guess she means microdoses. I'm worried the effects might fade over time. Well, the effects won't fade over time if you're doing it correctly. And correctly means, yes, it's really best to take some days off. That's why we say there's nothing set in stone, but that's why we say a good pattern is roughly 4 days on, maybe 2 days off. It could be 3 days on. It could be 5 days on. But again, roughly in rough numbers, 3 to 5 days in a row, microdose, take a couple days off, then repeat, do it again. If you don't do that, what's going to happen? If you don't take any days off, eventually, yes, even for small doses, even for microdoses, you will build up somewhat of a tolerance. So you're not going to feel the effects. It's not going to do the work that it should be doing. So that's why we almost always recommend taking days off. Now, look, there were times early on that I microdosed for 1 month straight. I wanted to see what would happen. I wanted to experiment partly for this podcast because I wanted to share with you, hey, I microdosed for 30 days in a row and here's what happened. And by the way, it worked out pretty well. It still was working for me. But again, that's not normal practice. It is best to take some days off. Again, like I just said, a couple days off after 3 to 5 days of dosing. But yeah, really good question. Thanks for that. Truth Seeker Dan. What's the biggest mistake you see people make when they start microdosing? I'd rather not learn the hard way. Truth Seeker Dan, that's a very good question. And you're very right to capitalize on other people's mistakes and the things that go right. Capitalize on other people's experience. Like I said, I've been doing this for 4.5 years. Pick my brain. Just try to figure out what would be a mistake so you don't make those mistakes, so it's going to work smoother and better and more predictably for you. I would say some of the biggest mistakes I see, Truth Seeker Dan, are rushing into it and not knowing what you're doing, just not having a plan. Just I'm going to start dosing, but you don't really know what's going on. Just start dosing and you don't have any other plan. Like you're not doing any side work. You don't have any true intention. You don't really have goals. You're not journaling, things like that. You just kind of rush into it, take a few capsules, and if it doesn't work, you say, this stuff's no good. On to the next thing. That's a tremendous mistake because this does work, but you do have to do it right. Some other mistakes I'm seeing, getting your medicine from bad sources. Again, I've done so many episodes lately on sourcing and how you got to be very careful and who you're getting this medicine from. That's what it's all about. And if you're getting it from someone who you don't know the medicine is exactly right, that could be a big problem, let alone maybe you're going to get ripped off too. What other kind of mistakes? Those are kind of probably the biggest mistakes. And also, people that just start and after a day or two, if they don't feel any different, they're on to the next thing again. People, it's kind of a shame, but these days we get things so quickly. You have a question, you go on ChatGPT and you get like an answer so quickly that in the old days it could have taken like weeks and weeks and weeks of research, but now we get things so quickly. But it's better to take a step back and say, it's going to work. I'm going to do it right. And I'm not going to make the mistakes that all these other people are making. And I will say again, I've talked about this lately a lot because it's so important. These are the kind of things that we're talking about intimately and in great detail in our Patreon group. Well, if you're brand new, you might be saying, well, what, Dr. Dave, what is this Patreon group you're talking about? Well, let me back up for a second because this is super important stuff, guys. There is only so much I can talk about on this public podcast. This podcast goes out there to anyone in the world who wants this information. And I've got to be careful with some of the things we talk about, especially somebody says, well, Dr. Dave, you've talked about magic mushrooms. Where do I get them? Well, I can't talk about that here. And I hope you can understand it could get me in trouble. It could get my sources in trouble. It could just be a whole big mess. So I don't do that here. Somebody might say, well, Dr. Dave, I want to learn more about how to microdose LSD because you said some really good things about it. Yes, I think it's very smart. I love microdosing LSD. I absolutely think it's a winner. It's great. I probably wouldn't start out first with that, but as you get a little experience, I think it's a great thing to do, as well as Amanita Muscaria. That's a mushroom that's just wonderful. And the good thing about it, it is totally legal in almost all places, especially in the United States. I think Louisiana might be the only place where it's not legal in the United States. In many countries, it's totally legal. So again, if you're worried about the legality issues, that's a great mushroom. But again, the way it's grown, the way it's sourced, the way it's processed, you have to be very, very, very careful. I wouldn't go to like a farmer's market or to like a vape shop and start buying Amanita there because it could be very, very dangerous. Some people have been poisoned if it's not right, if it's not grown right or processed right. So you got to be very, very careful. So these are the things we talk about on our Patreon group. We do a live meeting every couple weeks. We've got a great family there. We kind of like to know each other. We help each other out. There's no judgment. And we do talk about the things there that I hope you understand. I just can't talk about here. Like if somebody asks me on my podcast, Dr. Dave, where do I get LSD? I can't talk about that here in public. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. Again, I'll get in trouble. The sources will get in trouble. It's a whole big mess. But again, when you're with a small, intimate family, we can, and the platforms are different. We can talk about things like that a little bit more freely. I'd say a lot more freely. So if you're interested, again, it's not a push for that. It does cost money. It's very, very inexpensive, and it does help support the show. Inexpensive, we're talking about $12.50 a month. I mean, that's a few cups of coffee. I mean, come on, guys. And lately, we've been getting a lot of new members into this Patreon family. It's been incredible. As a matter of fact, this would be a great time to welcome some of our new members, and to keep it confidential, I'll just use first names. Welcome Otto, Vinu, Daniel, Dale, Rich, Wendy, Holly, RSJ, Ben, Essie. Let's see who else. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Jeff, Sherry, Gary, Derek, Deb. Well, it goes, and there are more, I think. I cut it off there because I don't want to take the whole show to welcome new members. However, when I first started this Patreon about a year and a half ago, I only had like a small handful of members, and it wasn't, it was just very difficult because when you only have a small group, you just don't have the energy that you want maybe sometimes. And sometimes I didn't know exactly what to say, what to post. But now, oh my God, this thing, it's kind of like a dream come true. This is a community. It's a family of people that we try to know each other. We try to support each other. We try to not judge each other. And there's just a wealth of great energy and support. You name it. And again, my favorite part is the live meetings that we do on Zoom every couple of weeks when a lot of us, not everybody, you can join Patreon and just kind of lurk in the background, but many of us get together on this live Zoom meeting and talk to each other in real time and ask questions and answer questions. And anyway, it's just awesome. The link is always in the show notes as well as on my website, microdoseu.com. It's microdose with the letter U on the end of it, microdoseu.com. Link is there. Love to see you. I've got to say this one thing. We've been getting so many new members into this community, into the Patreon community. There could come a time in the future, in the near future, where I need to cut it because like any family, we don't want it to get too large. Just think if you've got a family, like a real family, and the family is tremendous and you get together for holidays, there's going to be probably some craziness there because it's too many people and it's like out of control. So I need to keep this to a good number, and I don't want it to be a lot, a ton of people, because it won't be good for anybody if it's a ton of people. So while it's freely open, just a suggestion, you might want to get on there. And again, one more thing about it. I'm not looking for people just jumping in and jumping out. That's not what for 1 month, that's not what it's about. It's about coming in there, joining us, being a family together. And, we don't leave family, do we? We stay with family. Family sticks together and we all help each other out. That's what Patreon is about. Patreon.com/Microdose U. But the links are in the show notes and on my website, just in case you're not sure. You don't make a spelling error. You'll get to the wrong place. Okay. Anyway, Dan, thank you so much for that question. And sorry it led into, as some people might say, it led into a commercial, but it's not a commercial. It is the way that we help each other out here. And people are here, you're here listening to me, watching me, and you want help. You want your life to be better. You want to feel better every day. And I'm just giving you some options. If I held that back and didn't tell anybody, I'd be doing you an extreme disservice. Okay, let's get on to the next question here. From Mellow Mechanic, do you think microdosing actually changes who we are, or does it just help uncover who we were the whole time? Wow, these questions are getting better and better. Thank you for sending these in, because this is awesome. I have to think about this for a second. Does it change who we are, or does it just help uncover who we were? I'm going to have to use myself as an example. Microdosing 4.5 years. When I first started, a lot of anxiety, some depression, a lot of worrying about things, worrying about my medical health, worried about world affairs, what's going on, wars and politics, and just worried all the time. That's one of the major things that microdosing has changed for me and improved for me. I mean, I feel better every single day. I've also discovered so much more about my health, my mental health, my physical health, my sleep, my spirituality, how to connect with other people, how to be kind. But I would still say I am the same person, Dr. David Maddow. I'm the same person, but I think just a much better version of that person, if that makes any sense at all. I'm not somebody, I didn't turn into somebody else. I'm me, but I'm me who is not only a better version, but I can see deeper into what this life is about and how to maximize it and how to live every day to the fullest. I hope that helps the question. And that is a really, really good question. Next question from Lisa wants peace. Don't we all? We all want peace, right? Lisa says, can microdosing still help if I've already tried antidepressants and they didn't really do much for me? I'm going to say in most cases, absolutely. They work differently. That's why I'm a big fan of microdosing psychedelics, because they work in different parts of the brain, and they're more permanent also. They rewire the brain as opposed to just supplying some more serotonin while you're taking them, and then when you stop taking them, it goes away and you go back to the way you were. No, they actually rewire the brain. Well, and somebody might say, well, Dr. Dave, if that's the case, why are you still microdosing after 4.5 years? Why hasn't your brain been rewired yet? Well, it has been, and it still continues to be. And I think there's another question coming up that I'm going to get a little bit deeper into that question that I just invented. Okay, thanks for that question, Lisa. Cloud Rider. You've been at it a long time, Dr. Dave. What surprised you the most about your own journey with microdosing? This might be the question I was talking about that I could expand on Lisa's question. What surprised me the most? Well, yeah, I thought that microdosing for me would be not a quick fix, but I'd be in and out, in a sense that when I started feeling better, I wouldn't have to microdose anymore. And that would be the end, because my brain would be rewired. I'd be feeling great every day, and then I wouldn't have to do anything. However, I felt that's not exactly the case. I'm starting to believe that microdosing is more of a like a lifetime thing, or at least continuing it on some in some fashion of regularity, as opposed to once you start feeling better, you just drop it and you're not doing anything anymore. I still think we need it on at least a semi-regular basis. When I've taken longer breaks, yeah, I've actually felt some of the anxiety start to creep back a little bit, and then as soon as I start microdosing again, totally goes away. So I'm pretty much a believer that it's something that you need to do longer term as opposed to shorter term. I think if I had to answer the question, that's the thing that maybe surprised me the most, because again, I thought it would be like a quick in and out, done, but it's not really like that. However, having said that, every year, and I'm into year 5 now, every year I learn more and more and more about my body, my health, my life, and so much more than that. So I'm a not only a tremendous fan, but I believe it just keeps getting better and better and better. Like the way I felt after year 1 was very good. I would take it because it's no depression and no anxiety. But the way I feel after year 4 and into year 5, you start learning so many things about yourself and everything else that you can't even put it into words. It's very, very deep. So yeah, good question. That was Cloud Rider. Really good question. Thanks for that. Next question. Rogue Scientist asks, is it possible to get too deep into the mindfulness or spiritual side of microdosing? Like, can you lose touch with reality a bit? Can you lose touch with reality a bit? And let's talk about microdosing only, because when you're tripping, maybe during the trip you can lose touch with reality, but then you do come back, and I think you're probably better than before. But let's just with microdosing, can you lose touch with reality? Can you get so deep into this, like so spiritual? Can you discover so many things about like life, quantum physics? What is everything? Like, what is this solar system? What is beyond that? What is time? What can you get too deep? Yeah, perhaps you can figure out so much stuff that you didn't realize before. I don't know if you'd lose touch with reality, but you can go pretty deep. Like, for example, I don't think that I've lost touch with reality, although I've learned so many things. I've learned that there are some people in my life that, even though they were in my life, and some of them maybe even long term, that didn't mean they were good for my life, didn't mean they were good for me, didn't mean they were positive influences. And I got rid of some, especially people on social media that I thought were just negative influences, or I wasn't feeling the love, or I wasn't feeling good vibrations or good energy. I would, in the past, I would like hang on to those kind of people, social media or real life. I've dismissed a lot of people from my life only because I felt that they were negative forces. And we all need a lot of positivity in our lives. And I think anything that's negative and dragging us down, even if it's somebody who you see on social media, and every time you turn it on or look in your feed, you see somebody with like something, they're saying something negative about, whether it's about our country or about something. They're always negative. I'm sorry. I just release those people, because to me, they are not helping me in any way whatsoever. So yeah, really good question. I hope that answered it. From Quiet Heart. Some days when I microdose, I actually feel kind of sad instead of calm. How do you handle those days when the medicine brings up heavy stuff? I would say respect the medicine. Understand that this medicine, that's why we call mushrooms teachers, because they teach, they do bring up stuff, and they can and they will bring up stuff from the past or from your life that could create some sadness or some understanding that you've been through some very difficult things, but they bring it to the surface so you can understand it and then release it. But yeah, it's going to it probably will happen. I remember there was an infamous day. It was a couple years ago. I don't know, 2-3 years ago. I did an episode about this. I was in Costco of all places. It's usually a pretty happy place, but for some reason I just was feeling sad. Something, and I couldn't pinpoint it. There was nothing that really happened, but I just was having a sad day. But as I stood there and thought deeply, I realized that, okay, almost all of my days are really good days now. But am I allowed to have a sad day every once in a while? Yes. Embrace it, understand it, then release it. Release it meaning you have to know that it's only a temporary thing, and there's a very good chance later in the day or the next day you're going to be back to as close to 100% as you can be. So that's the way I did it. I just stood there in Costco and basically said to myself, okay, this is a little bit rough now, but later today or tomorrow I'm going to be feeling great. Did it work? 100% it worked. So I hope that does help you quiet heart, and hopefully the sad days will become few and far between. But will there always be some sad days? Yeah. I mean, you lose a loved one, you're going to be sad. You're going to be, so yeah, that you will, but you're going to be fine. Josh from Denver. A buddy told me that microdosing is just a trend and everyone will move on in a few years. What would you say to that? With all due respect to your friend, Josh from Denver, with all due respect, your friend is wrong. First of all, psilocybin, magic mushrooms have been around and we have used them since prehistoric civilizations. Ancient people, prehistoric, before history was even written, there are signs and evidence of prehistoric mankind using magic mushrooms, using psilocybin. It's been centuries and centuries and centuries. This is not going to it's not a fad. It's not going to go away. Microdosing might be a little bit different than the way we've done it in the past because we've discovered new things and new ways to use this medicine. But no, it's not a fad. It's not going to go away. And you can politely tell your friend that your friend doesn't really understand this at all. It's funny. About 10 years ago, I had a good friend tell me that CBD, part of the hemp plant, part of the cannabis plant, CBD is just a big fad and it's going to go away. And I said to this friend of mine, I said, I'm really sorry, but you're mistaken. This is not a fad. And here we are 10 years later, CBD, a lot of people are still using it every day for things like relaxation, sleep, pain. It's not going anywhere. It's a natural part of a cannabis plant or of a hemp plant. It's not going away. But see, some people just say things because they're so used to so many fads and they think these things are going to go away. But these are not fads. These are discoveries in plant medicine that just don't go away. Okay, I think that was the last question. Okay. Thank you all for submitting your questions. Anybody else that wants to do this, again, I take questions. Many people ask questions on YouTube, by email. Again, my email and the ways to reach me are in the show notes for sure. Also, many people ask me about the supplements that I use. I started an Amazon profile under my name with all of the supplements that I use. And then it got even better. A lot of the things that I use on a daily basis, the exact pillow that I use every single night for the best sleep ever. What else is there? The virtual reality headset that I use every single night to meditate with. That's there. So again, the show notes, if you go to the show notes or on my website, microdoseu.com, go take a look at my Amazon storefront and you'll be able to take a look at all the things that I use, I recommend, and you can just so easily purchase them right there. Do I get a little tiny commission every time somebody buys something? Yes, it's tiny. It's probably not even going to buy me a cup of coffee. I still want to disclose this just to be fair. Yes, it's my storefront, so Amazon does give me a tiny, tiny percentage. But again, whether it makes me wealthy or not, I think that's besides the point. I make this easy for you. I show you exactly what I'm using on a daily basis, and you can just go ahead and click on it and buy the same stuff if you like. Brand new episode comes out every single Wednesday. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple, Spotify. I don't know, Google. I'm not sure. I think everywhere, kind of. It just somehow ends up everywhere. So you can You can either watch me or listen to me. Been doing this for quite some time now. I really appreciate you and stick with us. And if you're brand new, make sure you subscribe, like, share, press that button so you get notifications whenever a brand new episode comes out. You won't miss anything. I do some live streams sometimes on YouTube. So you want to make sure your notifications are on so you don't miss anything at all. Until next time, I will remind you, my name is Dr. Dave. We do have a great live meeting coming up pretty soon on Patreon because we do these every couple of weeks. And the next one coming is really, really special. So I don't want you to miss it. Again, go to those show notes and become part of our Patreon family before I have to severely limit the number of people that can get in. I want you to get in before that happens. So until next time, I want to make sure you know that I do love you. You have a place to be here, to not to be judged, but just to learn to make your life as good as it possibly can be. And that's what we do here at Microdose U. I will see you on the next episode.